Good morning. Buckle up for the best answers to the question you've always been asking yourself, maybe. Former anti-vaxxers, what caused you to change your mind? I didn't like needles, then my mom told me I could stay home from school the next day. I was 6. A lot of anti-vaxxers are just rationalizing their fear of needles. My sister doesn't get her boys the flu vaccinations, which are done through a nasal spray at school here. I was a teenager, used to believe that if I got sick, my immune system would handle it and make me stronger. Like most youth, I believed I was invulnerable. I figured, thousands of years of ancestors had survived without vaccines, and so could I. It was years before I realized that before vaccines, people didn't just heal the viruses away. Most of them died or were crippled by illness their whole lives. My great-great-aunt got polio at the age of 16, about 1906, and was paralyzed from the waist down. She became wheelchair-bound, and wheelchairs back then looked like torture devices. She lived to 100 and died around 1990. I can't imagine 84 years of life in a wheelchair. She married, no kids, but how she kept her mind together I'll never know. I'll give you an historical one. In 1736 I lost one of my sons, a fine boy of 4 years old, by the smallpox, taken in the common way. I long regretted bitterly, and still regret that I had not given it to him by inoculation. This I mention for the sake of parents who omit that operation, on the supposition that they should never forgive themselves if a child died under it, my example showing that the regret may be the same either way and that, therefore, the safer should be chosen. Benjamin Franklin. My ex-husband was a very controlling person and did not want our kids to get vaccines. I was always so scared knowing my kids had no protection. One day one of our kids scraped themselves on a fence and the school called me. I snapped and took them straight to an urgent care for a tetanus shot and just started secretly getting all my kids vaccines. We eventually divorced and now all my kids are fully caught up. Good for you. I have heard that it's really hard to get out of those situations. I'm proud of you. I hope you're doing okay now. My now wife was an anti-vaxxer. I generally go with what she says most of the time because I cannot be bothered to argue. However, when we were discussing getting married and having kids, I was surprised at how strongly I felt about. I was prepared to walk away from the love of my life rather than not vaccinate. I gave all of the reasons. I'm from a third world country and she is European. I have seen too much poop from a lack of vaccination program to sit on the fence on this. She came around. When our first was born he was quite ill. I don't think we were in danger of losing him, but just that tiny bit of danger reiterated the point of protecting them and others from illnesses. My wife is now more on top of the vaccination dates for our kids than I am. A friend of hers had a baby recently and expressed some anti-vaccination sentiments. My wife calmly told her that not only would she be putting her own kids in danger but that she would be weaponizing her child against others. Quite a turnaround. I don't really know why I didn't like the idea of vaccines, but I didn't until my girlfriend had gotten pregnant and then I stepped on a rusty nail. Like the only way to stop tetanus is the vaccine. Well, the other way would be coma, tube and pray? I guess. Not sure if that'd help. It can cause spasms so bad they break bones. And now I need to double check if I'm due for a booster. I met my Mill, who is the ultimate anti-vaxxer, and realized how freaking crazy she sounds, and I didn't want to end up like that. Also, I have a baby daughter who I would like to live a long healthy life. How do you feel for the autism people who became scapegoats in all this? Hey, student nurse here, vaccines do not cause autism, so don't worry. The researcher who published it had their license taken away from being paid to make that up. It's been debunked. Please get your vaccinations. Kind of boring, but I have a whack job grandmother who believes in all the pseudoscience health BS. Crystal healing, electromagnetic communications cause cancer, vaccines are bad, eat apricot pits to cure cancer, the whole 9 miles. When I was a kid she tried to teach me all of this stuff like it was gospel, and I believed her because I was a kid, and why would my grandmom be wrong about something? Unfortunately for her, the minute I turned like 7, I got a huge hyperfixation on biology and quickly learned that all the stuff she spouted was utter BS. I'm autistic, and I was like the stereotypical autistic kid where they just know a iftin about one particular subject and devour any kind of learning material related to it they can get their hands on. I'm actually still like that. Except now I can get a degree for it. It was not hard for me to realize that none of the things she believed made any sense, even as a kid. Not me, but my cousin. She was extremely anti-vax for most of her life, and she refused to vaccinate her kids when they were born. Her second baby caught whooping cough, passed it to her first kid, and they both almost died. According to her, nearly losing her kids made her realize that she was an idiot for not vaccinating them. I am allergic to the vaccine for whooping cough and I caught it when I moved states. As a then 23-year-old man, I thought I was going to die from it. You don't just vaccinate to protect yourself, you do it to protect others. Not me, but my nana. She's always been into oils, healing rocks, potatoes in socks, all that weird crap. When I was sick, she would give me a bath and run her hand right above my skin, from head to toe, to draw out the sickness. When my youngest cousin was born, she practically moved into my aunt's house and went everywhere with them. When she took him to get his shots, my nana started fussing with the pediatrician and he just talked. All he did was explain poop to her, and she finally understood how bat poop she sounded. She still firmly believes that my cat is gonna steal my firstborn's breath, but we're working on it. Those asking, she would cut a potato into slices and stick a slice in each of my socks when I was sick. In the morning they were supposed to be black, meaning they had drawn out whatever toxins were in my body. Your cat is gonna what? I read an article about a mom who changed her view on vaccinations because of how radical the anti-vax groups were. A lot of them were anti-gay, anti-abortion. And so crazy about all of it. Pro the dumbest crap, like oils. Pushed the agendas of things that were obviously false. It made her step back and change her entire outlook on the anti-vax movement. I wish I could find this article, it was pretty interesting. Probably on Facebook. But she made great points against them. I also feel like some of it is fueled by people purposefully to sell stuff. Fear the vaccines and big pharma. Instead have this pure, organic miracle oil from the sacred mountains of Bertoli. It will cure everything. Yours for only $29.95 per 10 ml bottle. Yes. I bet the leaders of these stupid societies, such as the flat earthers, know that what they say is wrong but they just want to make a fortune out of it. Hard to say, but, reading. Honestly. I was on the elderberry/colloidal silver/ whatever natural bullcrap flavor of the week in my late teens, early 20s. Could dig up some obscure study from the 1960s to support it. Well, flu shots aren't 100% effective, what's the point? Have you seen all the people who get sick from it? Etc. etc. Simply put, I had bad advice from some of my father's vitamin shop, libertarian, naturopath, whatever friends. In grad school I took more statistics classes, keep reading about data analysis, started to learn what significant sample sizes meant, common logical and statistical fallacies and, surprise, most antisense nonsense doesn't hold up empirically at all. There's just no data to support it, and requires torturing of statistics and misrepresentation to defend their case. Luckily I don't have some epic story of a family member dying from a preventable disease, but it's still embarrassing to think back how arrogantly I was convinced I was more clever than the actual doctors and scientists. My mom is anti-vax and I'm reminded every day of how annoying she is because she's also against vaccines for COVID-19 and thinks that the whole rule about wearing face masks is to move America to Islamic rule with women covering their faces and everything. She's also hugely Islamophobic, and long story short I hate being home. That is quite the leap, I almost commend the creativity. She must be in excellent shape from all of those mental gymnastics. How do they think that would even work? Will people be going, hey, you know, that mask wearing is not so uncomfortable? And guess which religion also has face covering for women among a million other things? Let's just convert to Islam? I was a stereotypical, naturalistic vegan type. Didn't believe in essential oils or crystal healing or anything. Just believed, mistakenly, that you couldn't beat nature and that vaccines were messing around with my baby's natural immunity growth. I believed they were an unnecessary risk. I knew my decision was controversial so I kept it quiet. I wouldn't have been out campaigning or splashing it all over social media, it was a private decision. I held off until he was 2. We don't routinely vaccinate for chickenpox here in the UK so he got it, which is expected. However, he got a bacterial infection on top and had to spend a night in hospital. Nothing too traumatic, but I realized I didn't have the balls to play nature v. medicine anymore. Well, after years of deluding myself into the belief that vaccines were evil, I finally hit the wall. I learned more about vaccines and why they were really necessary. I think it was my fear of the unknown that prevented me from seeing that science saves lives. I had a really good teacher in that regard, and it ended up being a pretty great time in my life. I mean, on top of realizing that shots weren't bad things, I started getting an allowance and my 10th birthday party was fricking lit. Did not expect that ending, haha. Was it the needle that made vaccines seem evil, as I remember being scared of needles when I was a kid when I had my annual flu jab. I was caught into the anti-vax propaganda after my younger sister was said to have autism. Reddit helped me change my mind, with people providing evidence of anti-vaxxers' stupidity. What can I say except you're welcome? The research changed. I had my eldest shortly before Wakefield was debunked. When internet forums were way more common than Facebook and mommy blogs were all the rage, a la Julia and Julia. It was also about the time the CDC proactively began removing theramine thimerosal from vaccines, just in case. The pediatricians didn't fight me on it. I met and married my husband and he was pro-vaccine. Wakefield was multi-disproved and we stared a delayed schedule. Then it came out that he was being paid for his results and he was developing a different measles vaccine. My next two were fully vaccinated on schedule. What would have been your answer or question? Leave it in the comments below. Slap that like and subscribe button for more, and check out the link in the video description for even more answers. Peace out, and catch you in the next video.